Book vendors also provide low-cost evaluation services, such as BroadArt, which Lauren was talking about, often based on the age of the item in the collection. Follett Library Services and Sagebrush Corporation's Benchmark are two good examples, and BroadArt. Although, remember Lauren was talking about the intensity of it for her staff and how they tried, the emphasis was not necessarily on doing a number of them, but doing them well, and the time intensity that it actually took from her staff. Now, I know something that we've been talking or actually dealing a lot with, especially since you've been looking at your current collections for your group project, is website evaluation. So a little bit about the use of the web. Often there's a temptation to use the web simply because it's relatively easy to use from home. Obvious questions include the type of information needed will be suggested by the different types of information sources or providers. Is the information needed likely to be found on the web? Are there obvious organizations, institutions, or firms that are likely to provide this information on the web? Do these organizations have a reputation for quality and objectivity? Are web resources easy to use? Are web resources comparable in quality to the traditional hard copy resources? Anyone can publish on the web. There's no enforced standards, quality, or control, and the information is of varying quality and reliability. You have vanity publishing, info glut, info garbage, taking up part of the web. Much of what we find published on the internet is vanity publishing. In hard copy publishing, vanity publications are generally ignored because of the lack of quality control. However, some vanity or self-published works are of substantial quality and utility. Typically, self-published content needs to be greeted with more suspicion or doubt. Some information professionals are suspicious of net sites that contain considerable advertising or promotional materials for an organization or company. While one would not expect a General Motors site to be objective in presenting information on new cars, it's important to note that information about products, particularly product specifications, is often important information needed by many clients. The internet contains a large variety of advocacy sites, including some for viewpoints that would be beneficial, or some that the community might find hateful or disgusting. While we would not use these sites for objective information on a social or economic problem, they can be useful for those who wish to know more about a particular point of view. Websites may be categorized as reference or informational, news-oriented, entertainment, business or marketing, advocacy, or personal. Now, there's a lack of really a standard instrument. There are many different evaluation forms and checklists that exist, and sites that review, evaluate sites use different criteria. But a few variables are mentioned repeatedly: authority, scope, currency, purpose, and accuracy. Note that there is no single perfect indicator of reliability or truthfulness or value. Instead, you must make an inference from a collection of clues or indicators based on the use you plan to make of the source. Sites change rapidly. Intellectual content that was useful yesterday may be gone tomorrow. A site with marginal content may have improved content tomorrow. Normally, website evaluation must be repeated at frequency intervals to ensure that evaluation still matches site content. Some information is relatively timeless. For example, primary source material on the Spanish-American War. Other materials, the cost of living in a retirement community, for example, may not be useful if it's 2 years old, or medical information. Some sites are password protected or require the use of a credit card before useful information is provided. Many commercial information providers will provide a small amount of free information as a teaser for their subscription or pay sites. So you have to remember, when linking to anything, are there any out-of-pocket costs associated with using a site? If payment is required, are fees reasonable? It used to be that with many newspapers you couldn't get current information. You had to wait a week to even get access to information. And then you also have the issue of how far does that information go back. A lot of periodicals have not retrospectively done the collection for the web, so they only may go back to the 70s in many cases, where if you're trying to do research on something in the 50s, you may still have to go to microfiche. Navigation. Utility is often a function of how easy it is to find what you're looking for. Is there a clear indication of what is there and how to get to it? Is there a good table of contents or sitemap? Is the site well organized? Does consistency from page to page facilitate navigation? Are pages uncluttered, attractive, and easy to use? Is there a logical sequence from page to page? Are appropriate shortcuts available? For example, a return to home on every page. Is site design appropriate for the subject matter? How easy is it to find information on the site? Is there a search engine? If yes, does it work well? If links are present, is it clear what information will be found at a particular link? Are links annotated or described? Do labels clearly indicate actions associated with particular buttons and links? Does the site work well with a text browser? If frames are used, do they add ease of use? Is a no frames version available? Design. The home page of the website should be pleasing and easy to view. It should be aesthetically pleasing and should have a consistency from page to page. Does your first impression encourage use and exploration? Do the pages on the site represent a harmonious whole? Are the colors and textures used appropriate? A lot of times, just from the design of a site, you can really tell its intended audience. If it's using a lot of bright neon colors, possibly an added soundtrack the moment you click on, that kind of gives you a clue as to who the intended user is. So it may not be appropriate for a community that is aging unless